All right, welcome to the next installment of The Devil You Know. My name is Luke Holden, and I've been psyched for this interview for, 4 days now, because it was
at least 4 days.
4 days ago that I actually asked you. But, I've been meaning to get you on here for a while now, since meeting you, 2 months ago?
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
At Belcourt.
That's right. And this is, by the way, Keaton Simons, for anybody who has not read the label of the interview yet. And Keaton is a local musician who moved here from LA when?
That's about 3 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So you've been here for a little while now.
Been here for a little while, but I still feel like a newbie. I mean, I definitely missed like the first mass wave from LA, which was probably, 12-ish years ago now or something.
I'm still catching up. So.
And it's still happening. It hasn't stopped.
Mm-hmm. There's just a grand influx of people from across the world in Nashville right now, for anybody who's lived here a fucking year. We all know that. But at any rate, it was really exciting to meet you that night. I immediately recognized your name. It was fucking bizarre, because our friend Leah Knapp, was it Knapp or Knapp?
Yep.
Yeah, that's right.
Knapp.
For the German savants out there. But no, I recognized your name immediately because I have heard you perform with a few people at this point, Chris Cornell namely, which I obviously want to return to. But first and foremost, I want to hear a little bit about you. You're a musician, you work in film and TV, and I don't know, you essentially have a myriad of different hats that you wear. So tell me a little bit about what you've done, what you're doing, and what's to come.
Well, I've been a musician since birth, just like kind of came out just playing and singing and making sounds and doing all that stuff. And I just never stopped. And I've always found ways to do this or that or the other thing. Even when I was a little kid, I've done some stuff. I sang on Danny Elfman's first score for Scrooged, the Bill Murray movie Scrooged.
Yeah, of course.
And I was only like 7 or 8 years old at the time. And got to do so much cool, fun stuff and be in environments that were really fertile for creativity. I have a wonderful family who supports me creatively. A lot of extremely creative people in my family, so that's wonderful. And then I first started, I wanted to play with other artists and kind of learn the ropes while I was developing as an artist myself. And my first major gig was with Slim Kid Trey from the Far Side, which was a legendary West Coast hip hop group from the 90s. She keeps on passing me by. And so it was such an honor. I was a huge fan as a teen, and then I met Trey around 17 years old, something like that. And I became his musical director like almost right away.
No shit.
And we were playing shows and making songs and in the studio, and it was so cool. And through him, I got introduced to Lonnie Marshall from Weapon of Choice, started playing in that group, Kim Hill from Black Eyed Peas, Snoop Dogg. Ultimately, I ended up playing with Snoop.
I did read that you had worked with Snoop Dogg as well.
Yep.
So talk about cutting your teeth. That's
right?
pretty fucking awesome.
Oh yeah, I got to be a young guy play with Snoop Dogg, and then once I was always developing as a solo artist as well, writing songs, making records. I had an opportunity to do some songs for a soundtrack of a movie called Mercy Streets. Okay, and I had a few originals that were already done that the director really wanted in the film, and then I wrote a few specifically for it. And our deal was, I get to keep the masters. It was all recorded at 2-inch tape. This was like before, I think I was 22 maybe or something like that. So it would have been 20 years ago.
Well, who's counting, right?
Right, but who's counting?
Yeah.
So all recorded at tape. The deal was he gets to use the songs in the movie. I get to keep the masters and retain ownership and rights over it all.
That doesn't happen very often.
No, that was a huge deal. I didn't even realize that was such a great deal.
Yeah.
But I was stoked, and those recordings were a big part of what kind of allowed me to break out as a solo artist. I was already playing in so many clubs all around LA and with so many people and just in the scene. And then I got signed. I got signed to Maverick, which is Madonna's label under Warner. And it was such a cool thing. I made a record with The Matrix, and they were a hot production writing group at that time.
You mean the movie The Matrix?
No, not the movie. There was a production group. Still,
okay. Of course, my fucking mind goes to the movie.
Well, no, a great movie. So forget about it. But no, The Matrix were also a writing and production team. Okay. They did Avril Lavigne's first record.
Who, by the way, is everybody's coming back talking about Avril Lavigne again.
Yeah, dude.
You know, like she's some fucking martyr from the past. It's amazing because, like, I don't know, I've had a few interviews with people recently because I write for a magazine called Mundane that my friend Luca owns. Yeah. And the last girl I spoke to said, you know, she was talking about Avril Lavigne for like 20 minutes.
That's
I was like,
so funny.
Where the hell
she's at this point, she's been in it and doing it for a while, and she's worked with such cool people. It's so funny. Now we're going to talk about Avril Lavigne, aren't we? That's amazing.
Imagine that.
Well, it's funny because she is an important name in my life and my career too.
Do you know her?
We've crossed paths when I was working with the Matrix way back in the day. But you know, because they co-wrote and produced her whole first record with Complicated and Skater Boy and I'm With You and all of it, you know? And while we were making my record, those songs like I'm With You came out when we were first starting making my record. Sure. It was a really exciting time, and I got priority at the label and everything. And then that was right in the sweet spot, the sour spot, as it were. Yeah. When you know, the music industry more or less collapsed.
Well, that's the funny thing, man, is I was listening to Don Henley talk on Howard Stern a while back, and I know his daughter plays music as well. And Howard asked him, like, what advice do you have for your daughter or anybody else coming into the music industry? And I was like, don't fucking do it.
Exactly. You know? Stay out of it.
He said, stay out of it because it's chaos. There is no music industry right now. And like, it's funny because you say you were born in LA and, you know, you dove right into music. You practically came out of your mother's scene.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I know that working in music for just a few years at this point in time has eradicated most of whatever little bit of sanity I had left, but to like dive right into the fucking crucible like that has got to just like, it's got to just be insane. You know what I mean?
It's been trial by fire. It's been a lifelong series of trial by fire. But the thing is, I've learned one of the most important lessons that I can learn to make my life livable, which is that is what it's supposed to look like. Yeah. When you're on a path like that,
and to learn that really young is psychotic, because I don't even feel like I have gotten a total grasp on that yet.
You need to reach a critical point of experience in order to have that realization, because otherwise it just beats you down. That's what it does. But listen, for me, it's always been about reconnecting and staying connected to my focus of just loving music. Yeah. I first started creating music and singing and playing piano and this and that and the other thing before I knew what an industry was, what money or success or any of those things, before I had any concept of what those things were. Sure. Music was, you know, an inseparable part of me. And so I'm really fortunate to have that because I can connect to it. And I can connect to it no matter what, in any circumstance. It does not matter, and as a result, I get to be in control and in charge of how I feel about stuff.
Well, what you said a minute ago before we actually started was you do music for nothing other than the sake of doing music.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Ulterior motives,
and that's fucking incredible because you know I came into this whole world of music with the same mindset, so to speak, but there was always this panicky undertone to everything where it was like, you know, how do I blend this reality with the fact that I really do need success kind of thing. Right. And I think that now they say you need to be obsessed with music. You have to be obsessed with the arts in order to achieve what you want or what you don't know you want, but is going to come with really, really hard work. Right. And honestly, dude, like, I think it also takes some serious fucking insanity too. You know what I mean? Because more often than not, you don't get what you put back in. Precisely. You don't. And it's like doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. But lo and behold, this is like the one thing, like whereas there's nothing guaranteed in the music industry right now. What is guaranteed is if you keep doing it over and over and over again, if you entertain that insanity, you will get results. You will get different results. And at this point in time, like I know you're working in film, you know, you are working with names that people have had on posters on their walls for like, you know, fucking decades. And you're currently working on a film with, what is it, Diane Keaton?
Well, I finished scoring it. It actually came out now like a year ago or so more. Love, Weddings, and Other Disasters. Sure. Me and Noah Needleman, who's Brett Young's musical director, and I play with Brett also. And we've been writing and production partners now for years, and we scored that film. You know, Diane Keaton, Jeremy Irons, amazing cast. Yeah. Maggie Grace, really cool people.
Well, Jeremy Irons, I always associate him with the remake of Lolita.
Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Of course.
I mean, he was Scar in the.
He was also Scar.
He was Scar. Yeah. But I mean, I love the original Lolita. I'm like obsessed with that movie. And then they did the remake, and he was, like this erotic, horny old man, who just wanted to bang this child.
Yes.
So that's where my mind goes at this point.
Totally. I have seen that movie. That's probably the movie I'm most familiar with him from also, actually. Yeah. And it's a great one and a great, amazing book.
Yeah. Well, I actually started reading the book last year.
Oh, great.
And Nabokov is, he writes, he's almost like this precursor to Chuck Palahniuk. In this weird way, like this stream of consciousness, this prose style of writing. And I mean, I read a lot of
Bukowski.
I read plenty of Bukowski too. Yeah. He is, he's like a Bukowski on PCP. You know what I mean? But I read a lot of literature, pre-20th century literature, whatever. And I tell you what, Nabokov fucked me up.
I know.
I was reading Nabokov. I was like, good God, this guy's on something entirely different. You know what I mean?
Totally.
Yeah. But it takes a neurotic man to write a book about a relationship between a young woman and like an underage woman and an old man, and make it charming. It's like
right, and find these weird points in it. Oh gosh.
Yeah. So you read a lot?
I do. I love listening to books and courses. I do the great courses all the time. So I just listen to like lecture series. Yeah. I listen to a lot of stuff about physics and quantum mechanics.
Well, that's actually really fucking cool. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because I've got a big thing for that. And I read Dawkins and Christopher Hitchens, those guys. I actually met Richard Dawkins.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. I think it was like 2.5 years ago now. I remember because I was really fucked up in the crowd. These days, I'm not so fucked up.
Right.
But
congratulations. By the way, that's one.
Thank you. I met him after the fact. And I got to shake his hand. The guy's a fucking asshole. Really? It was awesome. It was so cool. It was like, if he were nice to me, I was like, this would have ruined my whole universe of Richard Dawkins. But I mean, he was just like kind of this cold, condescending prick. I was like, that was awesome.
Wow. That's amazing.
He signed my book and whatnot. So, you read, you have this obsession with physics and, this world outside of yourself, this world that's bigger than yourself, which, hearing you talk and hearing about the people you've worked with, it's incredible because you do have this fascination with getting involved in as many projects as you can. You know what I mean? It's like the physics of the arts.
Well, kind of, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the interconnectedness of everything, the autonomy and individuality of everything, while simultaneously being inseparably interwoven. And that's, it's the same thing as just realizing what is the natural shape of things. We're in this career in music, it is supposed to be up and down, and lots of down stuff. There's tons of it. That doesn't mean you're failing. That doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. It doesn't mean you're not good. It doesn't mean this is not what you're supposed to do. It's just that is what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Most of the time people get signed to a record label and their record never comes out. That's what happens most of the time.
It's like selling a screenplay and the movie never gets fucking made.
Or a pilot. I've been in several pilots that never made it to air, and the excitement, and you sign a contract and you do this and then it's like, nah. And that's how it is. That is what it actually is. That doesn't mean, that's not a sign that everything's gone wrong and that you are not worthy,
And it takes a lot of self-control. It takes a lot of trial and tribulation and just thick fucking skin.
Absolutely.
To be able to put up with that over and over and over again. And you, like I said, you have to be obsessed with it. You really have to be willing to do music and the arts for no other reason than I fucking love this. It's all I know. Yep. And I mean, it's just, I feel like you embody that quite well.
Well, thanks, man. I definitely, I play music when I'm alone all the time. It's my world of music it encompasses more than just performing for other people, recording and releasing music, trying to sell music or create music as a commodity. Those are all kind of afterthoughts. For me, my favorite thing is to create music alone. When I share it with people, I want to invite them into as messed up of a version of that as possible. I'd love for people to just be able to be voyeurs without me even realizing they're there, And that's what I try to bring, to performance and just the real thing. Basically, like figuring out how to find validation internally. Mm-hmm. And for me, I kind of see external validation seeking as just a black hole, a feedback loop.
That's where the real chaos is.
Well, absolutely, because the truth is, you don't ever even know what other people think of you. You only know what you think they think of you.
Yeah.
You only know your filtered version of that.
Yeah.
So it's already too convoluted. We know, we've all played the game of telephone.
Yeah.
It gets messed up right away. We all have memories. It's fallible. You know what I mean? I could have sworn I put this thing right here. I can see it in my mind. No, you didn't.
Well, I'm definitely a prey to delusion of reality myself, which is something I've had to work on overcoming, trying to rectify reality in my own head to what I want it to be. And I have all these, stupid expectations that are so otherworldly, and my solution to that used to be getting high, getting fucked up, and what have you. So it's taken some serious humility over the course of 2.5 years at this point in time to make sense of a world that otherwise makes absolutely no fucking sense.
Yes, there's a lot of not making any sense that happens in this world,
And you wonder why all these rock stars die and everything like that. And it's just, subjecting themselves to this reality. It's beautiful, but it's tragic at the same time. And, it feels like an endless cycle of martyrdom. But before I get too morbid on all this shit, because I always do that,
Sure. Right, absolutely. But listen, my mind has gone there, and I've gone there before, and that's how I developed the techniques and technologies to be able to find a way through it and go, hey, this is the same landscape. Landscape only changes because my perspective changes. You know what I mean? No longer seeking external validation, just enjoying it when it happens, appreciating and understanding and respecting other people's ideas and thoughts and their whole entire universe that they create, understanding the difference between our internal subjective reality and our external shared objective reality. Our shared reality is a collection of universes created by a bunch of individuals, and we have to come to a consensus somehow. But each one of those individuals has a fully developed internal reality where they are in control of everything, more or less, even if they don't feel like it. Yeah. It's still your mind which creates your reality.
And it's like to have that kind of collective attitude toward a world that is so competitive, and people people are no strangers to stabbing others in the back, and furthermore getting stabbed in the back, and it becomes this endless blood circle. Totally. You know what I mean? That is very refreshing to hear that perspective, because a lot of the time in arts and music, it's like walking into a dark room. You don't know what the fuck's going to happen. You don't know if you're going to come out on the other side alive. Right. And some people don't. And I mean, whether it be physically dead or mentally and emotionally dead, it's a really bizarre thing to have to rectify in your own head. And I don't want to get too far away from this because you were talking about...
No, but I think it's okay sometimes for certain parts of your idea of self and reality to die. Mm-hmm. Death is natural. It's as natural as birth. It's also extremely popular. Everyone's doing it.
Mm-hmm. Well, shit, I can't wait.
can't be that bad. Yeah. All right? Everybody seems to be, all about it. They're just in droves. But no, it's okay for those parts of yourself, your connection to expectation, your connection to a belief that your internal reality is directly related to shared reality space. That's one of the things I realized a while ago, is that it's not like that. Just me imagining wanting something. Like, disappointment can only exist if you believe that there's an alternative to the reality that you're living in. Because basically what disappointment is this shared reality doesn't match up to my imagination in my mind, in my own personal reality, which is 100% real for me, but only me. You know what I mean? Nobody else. We have to share the rest of it. So the rest of it just happens as it happens. And of course, you can attune yourself. People talk about that as manifestation and stuff like that. I like to think of it less as manifestation in that you are bringing these things into existence, but more that you're honing your focus so that you see them when they're there. Mm-hmm. You may be looking right at it and not see it until you manifest it by focusing yourself internally.
Well, in the spirit of manifestation and what you have to bring to this collective reality, you're holding a guitar right now.
I am holding a guitar in my hands.
And I know you're fucking itching. Because I know what it's like as a musician to hold a guitar and not touch it, you know what I mean? And not toy around with it. So,
it's so hard.
I heard you perform 2 months ago, and now that we have music synced up on the podcast, I would love to hear you perform a song for these people who are listening right now.
Of course.
And Tony, our sound guy, Tony Sanders, because he's here too. Yeah.
Hey, Tony. You left no stone unturned, flipped every leaf and lizard, with your face down in the dirt. You're too blind to be forgiven. Well, the sands of time are soft and fine. They slip right through your fingers. But you say you're looking for inspiration, and you don't know where to find it. If you want to find inspiration, let it find you. It seems like you've tried everything. The noose is slowly tightening. Newton and his apple, the key on Franklin's kite string. I know you felt this way 1,000 times. The thunder and the lightning. To say you're looking for inspiration, and you don't know where to find it. If you want to find inspiration, let it find you. Inspiration strikes at unexpected times. Yeah, yeah. It can come as pleasure or pain. Oh, the minute that it's gone, you want it back again. You need it like the desert craves the rain. Oh, well, you're looking for inspiration, and you don't know where to find it. If you want to find inspiration, let it find you. Oh, you say you're looking for inspiration, but you don't know where to find it. If you want to find inspiration, let it find you. If you want to find inspiration, let it find you.
Yeah. Oh, I dig that.
Right?
Song called Inspiration.
Inspiration.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Inspiration.
Solid message, because I'm always the one who's seeking inspiration, and I lose my fucking mind in the process.
Right?
So.
Because if you're trying to, inspiration is something that needs to find you. It's an involuntary process, actually. It's like sleep or arousal. Yeah. You know what I mean? If you try to force arousal, we all know what happens.
Well,
it doesn't work.
Chronic insomniac, and I'm a virgin, so I wouldn't know anything about either of those things. Yeah. Speaking of Madonna. But you know what's funny, man? You had to have heard this before. You sound like Ben Harper. Have you gotten that?
I have gotten, and I'm fortunate enough to be friends with Ben Harper.
No shit.
Yes.
So tell me about some of these people that you know. You know Ben Harper.
I do. I kind of know everybody a little bit.
You knew Chris Cornell, which just blew my fucking mind.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
It blew my fucking mind too, and continues to blow my mind. And the depth of our connection continues because I hold him so deeply in my heart and in my soul. And we, like, you know, I mean, that dude, I was not the first person to feel like a kindred relationship with him, but I'm one of them. You know, we connected. We had the same birthday.
No shit.
Mm-hmm. July 20th coming up.
Oh, how about that?
And and man, I just miss him. And when I think back about his generosity and benevolence and the way that he treated me and embraced me into his world with nothing ahead of time, just like, I dig you, I dig your vibe, I like the way you make music. Let's do some stuff together. Like, come join me on TV, on the radio, doing that acoustic performance where we did Nothing Compares to You. That was a last minute. He was like, "Hey man, you know, I want you to come in early and do this thing with me." Absolutely.
Dude, that blows my mind.
It blows my mind.
That's how I recognized your name, because I've listened to that song so many fucking times. So many times with Chris Cornell doing Nothing Compares to You, the Prince tune, Sinead O'Connor, acoustic on Sirius XM. And in the middle of it, he goes, Keaton Simons.
Keaton Simons.
He says your name. And then you start playing a solo over it. And when Leah said your name, I was like, motherfucker, that's the guy, you know? So I tell you what, man, that was so jarring for me, because Chris Cornell has got, you know, such a special partial place in my heart. You know, my dad and I absolutely love everything Chris has done. I love grunge, everything grunge. And so that was huge for me, because I love that song. I love everything the guy ever did. How did you meet him?
I actually met him. My stepdad is an actor. My stepdad is...
Your stepdad is Eric Roberts.
Eric Roberts, yes.
I've looked you up a little bit.
Yes.
You have a Wikipedia page.
I've got a Wikipedia, my name hyperlinks in a text message, and Instagram still won't give me a fucking blue check. Those bastards.
Fuck Instagram.
But anyway, I digress. So Eric was in Chris's music video for Nearly Forgot My Broken Heart,
which actually I watched that recently.
Yeah, man,
dude, it fucked with me, because
of the
he's at the gallows.
I know,
you know what I mean. It was some like bizarre, morbid, prophetic thing, but
they held that back. They pulled it for a while.
Did they really?
Yes, they did. Absolutely. I mean, that hit me like a ton of bricks as soon as I heard the news, because that was, and you know, Eric and my mom, Eliza, they are my biggest champions. They're out there just like, you know, they might as well be driving around in a car with my face on the side of it going, hey, listen to some music, and throwing like CDs. Eric, I think, said to Chris, like, I bet you get a lot of tapes, something like that. You know? And Chris was like, what are you talking about, dude? You know, but you know, Chris's kids, and he still loves his kids, and they're so cool, and everybody's musical and doing stuff together. And so he's just talking, you know, and Eric's like, you know, my stepkid's a musician, like real deal, like not like, you know, just some dude. So here, check it out, take a thing, listen to it. Then he hit me up on Twitter, actually.
No shit.
Well, yeah, and was like, bro, I've been like listening to your stuff and checking you out on YouTube and stuff, and like, you know, fan. And I've said, come on, dude. Come on, buddy.
Yeah,
like,
I would have.
No.
I would have expected to just wake up from the Matrix, you know, from the fake reality. Like Chris Cornell just messaged me on Twitter.
Right. After I finished doing backflips, and it was just, you know, for like a gymnast for 20 minutes straight. No, of course I flipped out. I said, I'll do anything. I'll play triangle in your band. You know what I mean? Like, give me a whatever. Give me an instrument. The Emperor's New Instrument. I don't care. And then he asked me to come and play some guitar with him. And it was incredible experience to change my life, and him just saying my name and announcing me before that solo.
Yeah, it's like fabled at this point in time.
It's just crazy, dude. It's you know, it may be the most generous thing anyone's ever done for me. Just
from
say
what
my
I
name.
understand, he was an incredibly generous person.
Incredibly,
you know, and I can't, you know, from a outside perspective, because you hear all these things about famous people and celebrities and what have you, and we're so quick to be like, oh, they're a great guy, or they're a bad guy. We don't fucking know these people at all. You know what I mean? But from what I understand and what I've heard about Chris Cornell is that he was immensely gracious, and he was such a kind soul, and that's everything you want to believe about your heroes.
Yeah.
You know,
well, that was my experience with him.
That's incredible.
My experience with him was just completely wonderful. There was not even a moment of anything else. I mean, you know, he's a real dude, and we talked for real. And when I first started playing with him, like, you know, I came out here and like played Whiskey Jam and stuff, and was just hanging with some peeps, and I've been playing Whiskey Jam since the beginning.
Yeah,
you know, I love this guy. I love Ward and Josh Hogue. This is how I first originally got in with it. I was just off the road with him, and we were doing a writers round. Me, Hogue, Rob Blackledge was playing with Josh and playing, and that guy is brilliant. And also Matt Duke, who, if you haven't heard Matt Duke, he is a genius in no uncertain terms. I don't have any problem I can overhype him more than you would be comfortable with, and you'll still be impressed.
Well, anybody who's out there, write that name down.
Matt Duke.
Yeah.
I mean, forget about it. And forever. Like, he's just the man. But, so yeah, the Whiskey Jam, and people were like, dude, I hear you're playing with Chris Cornell. Well, you know what I mean? Like, my hero, and people who have #1 hits on the radio, and they're like, I would do anything to get in the room with him and all this kind of stuff. And I always want to connect dots. You know what I mean? I always want to find the flow that's right. You know what I mean? I'm never going to push a situation that's uncomfortable, but shit, if I can be a guy who introduces somebody to somebody and then it becomes a beautiful thing. I've introduced people to their husbands and wives and band members and producers and all that kind of stuff, and it just makes me so happy, Well, so
if you introduce me to my wife and I end up getting fucking married, I will never forgive you. Don't do it.
I know. Well, yes, only people who are happy with the thing. Nobody's been like, you son of a bitch, you introduced me to this person, they ruined my life.
Oh, marriage, that's a happy thing? I had no idea.
Yeah, right, exactly. Well, I guess, if you decide to do it in this day and age, it should be a happy thing.
Yeah. Talk about chaos in the crapshoot. But I shouldn't say that. My parents are still very happily married and,
that's
very
amazing.
much in love. Yeah.
That's wonderful. That's incredible.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, come on. I'm a big cynic when it comes to all that kind of stuff too. I just like to. I'm a non-subscriber, dude. I like to learn about stuff and then realize that they're all ideas that were brought about by people. I'm a person. I have ideas too. I want to see what my idea is, right? Exactly. Yeah. And I want to know what your idea is too. I don't want to know, someone else's idea through you. I want to hear your ideas.
I have way too many fucking ideas and it drives me insane.
Good though. That's good. I know the feeling.
I guess so. You know what I mean? It's a boiling, dirty black think tank from time to time. But nonetheless, I guess that's the price we pay as neurotic thinkers and artists and that kind of thing.
Absolutely. So yeah, we got to be real sensitive, man. We're the ones who comment about stuff. And really what we do is we speak as vulnerably and honestly about ourselves as we possibly can. And that's the connection point.
Well, there's power in vulnerability.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And everyone was a baby crying in their mother's arms. Everyone knows what it's like to be afraid and confused and look around and try to figure out what is this thing. And even with every bit of information and technology, we still don't know shit.
Yeah.
So it's like, you can only have this approximate understanding of anything really. But you know that you have yourself. You know that you exist in a certain continuum, in a certain continuous way. But then there's a deeper self that's not even connected to our story of self and our accomplishments in shared reality space. You know what I mean? So we've got a lot to work with. And the darkness, I think there's space for it. And the reason I'm not competitive is because I think there's more than enough room for every individual. There's just not room for people who are trying to walk on someone else's path.
Yeah.
There's enough room for every individual unique path. But you run into problems when you're not walking your own.
It's funny. I completely agree. And in certain realms of industry or art, whatever, unfortunately, that can work. It is, trampling other people. But what I love so much about Nashville, when I first got here and up until now, 5 years later, I mean, there's this really awesome air of camaraderie. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's fucking awesome. It really is. And that's why I'm so comfortable here. I don't want to go anywhere else. I love it here. And anybody who has tried to pull some cloak and dagger bullshit, I realize they just ostracize themselves. It's a natural filtration system in this city that it's like wearing a scarlet letter. It's like, that guy tried to fuck somebody over. And we know that.
Exactly.
And that's something I never take for granted. I've never taken for granted. And, to come out of a world of arts like yourself and to still have that grip on reality is an anomaly. It really is. And I don't know, man. It's exciting to have you here. And I'm looking forward to hearing you play again outside of where are you playing? Where are we going to get to see you play?
It's amazing. a great artist, Matt Ferranti, is also a member of the Brett Young band. And he's a killer artist. He's really coming into his own as a writer and as a performer through the pandemic and so on. He's taken every opportunity that he can safely to perform, still doing the stuff. And like, as soon as stuff opened back up, he and his band were the first ones down there. And I love to play, you know what I mean? So I just sit in when I sit in, and I know the stuff. I learned the stuff. I've played a few riffs on a couple of the records and so on and so forth. And my favorite thing in the world to do is to improvise. And I love to experience music from the inside. In fact, that's the way that I like to experience it for the first time. That's part of the reason why I love writers' rounds.
Yeah.
Because I'm hearing a lot of songs for the very first time, and I get to play it. I get to experience it from the inside out. And people ask me, how long have you been playing with these guys? And I'm like, just now. Yeah. What you just saw, and that is all.
Well, the thing about writers' rounds is, any musician in the city, I feel like that, and I've had this attitude toward them as well, which, is absurd, because I think about my best friends that I've met and the people I've collaborated with the most. And case in point, you're here today. Right. People get very cynical about writers' rounds, and they're like, I don't want to fucking do that. It's lower rung stuff. But
it's funny.
Yeah, I mean, to have the willingness and the humility to step in and sit on stage with 4 other people, one-on-one, play your own song, you know what I mean, is really awesome, because I think here in Nashville right now, it's different. It's not about one person going and trying to get a record deal. It's about who you meet in the grassroots level.
That's exactly right.
That's
one of the things. That's one of the benefits that have come from the music industry collapse, the former music industry model collapse, because there have been a lot of new avenues that have been created as a byproduct of that.
Sure.
The kind of mid-level, the middle class musician. That was something that Don Henley would be like, don't get into the music industry. There's no more private jets. But I don't need a private jet. You know what I mean? Like, I don't need to live some crazy extravagant lifestyle at all. In fact, I really enjoy living very simple stuff. I like to, make food from scratch, from just whole ingredients. I would prefer to be growing all of those things myself just for fun. You know what I mean? I like to make the music. I like to make music in order to listen to music. You know what I mean? But what you were talking about before, I was going to say, that kind of, you can be a cloak and dagger backstabber, but you will end up screwing yourself, because that instant karma thing is a real thing. And the reason, to me, it makes perfect sense. It's not because I don't believe it's because there's some grand equilibrium out there balancing things out. I think it's because of the individual in their mind. Everybody knows what they do.
Yeah.
Everybody knows who they are. And you can only live with yourself so much. I've seen a lot of people become very, very successful through shady means, and they're miserable. Yeah. And it does not matter how successful they are on paper, how much paper money they have in their accounts and things like that. It doesn't matter. I would not trade places with them in a million years, because they're not happy.
Yeah, you're goddamn right. I wonder, because I was just thinking the same thing, where it's like, if you are accustomed to spitting poison, it means you're fucking full of poison.
Absolutely.
And you've got to hate yourself.
Right.
You have to hate yourself.
Be that person.
It really does. And in that regard, I do look at people who normalize that kind of behavior within themselves and outside of themselves. And I think the only way to deal with that and to find any kind of harmony between yourself and the reality of people who do want to hurt you is the fact that they are hurting themselves. And all you can do is just, like, hey, man, hope for the best kind of thing. And if you let yourself furthermore be a victim of that, and then you feel bad for yourself, and then you say, this is what defines the industry, this is what defines everything around me, then at that point in time, then, you're swallowing poison too. And I can't stand sadistic, malicious people, obviously, but I also can't stand when people fucking feel sorry for themselves, Absolutely.
Self-victimization is the most self-destructive, selfish thing,
It's absurd, Yeah. And I mean, I've spent plenty of time feeling sorry for myself. And
of course, how else are you going to learn that it's bullshit?
Exactly.
You got to give it a shot.
It's all bullshit.
This is bullshit.
It is, but you come from a background and a family of really hard workers.
That's true.
I know your sister is Emma Roberts.
Yep.
Yeah.
Stepsis.
She is an actress. She's in American Horror Story and all that stuff.
Yeah, dude, she's a big star.
She's done good things. She was in a movie a while back that I watched, The Black Coat's Daughter, that I really dug. A24 does the best fucking movies in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She does lots of cool stuff. She's always like at Sundance with some underground project, even though she does lots of mainstream stuff too.
Sure.
It's super great. And my whole family is very, very hard workers and all kind of decided to do the thing that they wanted to do, and so make life all about work. One of the things that I've learned is that it's important to have some balance. Like for me, like I don't really see playing music as work. I recognize that parts of it are work usually when I feel exhausted at the end, and then I just feel okay about having any downtime that I have.
What do you do in your downtime? How do you maintain whatever sanity you have left?
I listen to all those courses and stuff like that. I think a lot. I play so much music. I mean, my downtime sometimes, and I realized actually that part of the reason why taking time away from instruments is a good thing for me is because I have this really interesting mental way of like imagining the patterns and stuff. And that starts to go run on its own automatically. And then when I go back to that instrument, I'm better at it somehow. And it's because I've been strengthening a different muscle. I've been practicing something else. We kind of have to practice whatever it is. Like that's why when people say, "Oh, I'm too good for a this or a that," it's like, okay, well then prepare to not be very good at it after a while, because you'll lose your chops.
Yeah.
Like keep your chops up. Do it. Don't do it for you. Do it because you want to do it. Do it because you want to. And if you don't want to do it, do not. Like absolutely, by all means. By the same token, like if you're going, "Oh, I've got to do another writer's room," then that's not for you. You know what I mean? And like that's what I was going to say in response to what you were saying before. If you end up around a lot of people who are toxic, if I end up around people who are toxic, the first thing I go to is self-responsibility. I go, what decisions am I making? What's happening in me that I'm bringing myself into this space? Because typically I don't find myself surrounded by that, because I try to lead by example. I don't engage on an egoic level. So if people are trying to be competitive and snarky or whatever it is with me, I just don't meet them there.
Yeah.
I meet them somewhere else.
Exactly.
And it almost always works. And if it doesn't, that's fine too.
Or it works out in a way that you wouldn't expect either ways. You know what I mean? And it's like, I mean, I'm such an advocate of accountability, self-accountability, and I thought I was in the past, but then I always found myself, feeling bad for myself and acting out in that way, and that is a lesson of hard knocks that you need to learn. And I realized that when I was snorting pills every day and getting fucked up, and what I mean, I said I don't feel bad for myself. It's whatever, I deal with the hard shit, and then I go through, and then there I am chopping a fucking line of pills. You know what I mean? And what I've realized over the past 2.5 years of being in sobriety is, one, it's one day at a time, and two, you have a role in everything.
Absolutely.
A role in everything, which is a fundamental lesson that far too many people don't really grip onto, and it becomes their demise.
Yeah.
And I say this without judgment, because I know that I'm still prone to practices like that if I don't, exercise exactly that, the humility involved. And
I think we all are. I think by nature, because each individual creates an entire universe in our mind, it only makes sense that we feel self-important. You know what I mean? We have to be the most important person to ourselves. Otherwise, we ain't shit to anybody else. You know what I mean? We're not going to be worth anything to anybody else. That's how I see it. I'm the guy on the airplane who puts on my own mask and then helps others. You know what I mean? Because that makes so much sense to me. What am I going to be, some passed out asshole who can't help you because I didn't do the thing right? You know
what you just said right there, because you said obviously you have to be the most important person yourself, but what you just hit it on the head when you mentioned helping other people. That's the one thing that all these self-help mantras leave out, is actually getting outside yourself and helping somebody else, and not obsessing over your own issues. Because I know that when I wake up in the morning and I'm like, I don't have this, I'm fucking miserable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like borderline suicidal. And what the self-help mantras leave out is help someone else.
Yes. And see, that becomes the thing. When you realize that that's what that does for you, it allows you to be able to effectively love other people and help other people. See, most people have what I consider to be a misguided belief that being taking care of your own interests first is selfish, and it is at the expense of other people. I think it's the exact opposite.
Sure.
I think that I see people chase their tail for their whole lives because they believe that they're selfless and about everybody else, and they themselves are empty, and they can't actually help anybody. So all they do is lead people on to believe that they can help them, and then they fall short because they don't know how. Because they can't do it inside. And just whatever you're hoping to radiate, try to give that to yourself first.
Fair enough.
Give yourself the peace and grace and nonviolent communication. Let yourself off the hook. Give yourself that kind of slack. The same thing that you would for everybody else. Realizing that you create your own universe is nothing without realizing that so does everyone else.
Yeah.
That's what's so important, is that of course we're important to ourselves. We create our universe. So are you to yourself.
Yeah.
I can't forget that either. So it's with all of that we can find that balance, I think.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And, I think that your contribution to the balance, obviously, is your music. And I remember when I heard you play, you did one song that was just like, it was super upbeat, and you're like, 1, 2, 3, you were counting or something like that. Will you fucking play that?
Oh,
please?
yeah, bro.
Thank you so much.
Come on. These streets, I feel a certain passion. When you're there with me, we start a chain reaction and fall again. Fall again. I'm off my feet, I'm swept away, I'm stranded. Got my heart tethered, disbelief abandoned the hard way. I learned that hard way. You built a castle out of sticks and bones. Here we go. When I get back home, it's back to life. 1, 2, 3, go. After the months of sacrifice, where did they go? Take time to stop and feel alive. What do we know? I know a feeling when it's right. 1, 2, 3, go. Here alone, remember independence. We're gonna bring it all back home and feel that confidence. I love that confidence. Thinking in circles keeps my mind well-rounded. Searching for subjects just to stay confounded and trying things. I'm always trying things. Build that castle out of sticks and bones. Well, here we go. When I get back home, it's back to life. 1, 2, 3, go. After the months of sacrifice, where did they go? Take time to stop and feel alive. What do we know? I know a feeling when it's right. 1, 2, 3, go. 1, 2, 3, go. 1, 2, 3, go, go, go. 1, 2, 3, go. And then we finally get to start again. Then we finally, get to start. Here we go. When I get back home, it's back to life. 1, 2, 3, go. After the months of sacrifice, where did they go? Take time to stop and feel alive. What do we know? I know a feeling when it's right. 1, 2, 3, go. When I get back home, it's back to life. 1, 2, 3, go. After the months of sacrifice, where did they go? Take time to stop and feel alive. What do we know? I know a feeling when it's right. 1, 2, 3, go. 1, 2, 3, go. 1, 2, 3, go. Go, go. 1, 2, 3, go. 1, 2, 3, go.
That's a cool tune. That's a cool tune. That was the one that stuck out in my head, actually, when the first time I saw you play. That sounds like a Lumineers song almost.
Well, thank you. I love those guys. They're great, man. Yeah, that song, my favorite way to write is just improvisation.
That was going to be my next question, is when you go about writing a song, because everybody has a different way of doing it. I know that best way I write a song, I'm sitting alone in my room at 3 o'clock in the morning. Right. I'm not very good at, here's the thing. I can co-write. Yeah. I will co-write, and I can be good at it. I can set my expectations, my egos aside, but I know that when I write a song, it becomes very visceral, because I write really dark music. I do.
Yeah, I love your songs. I've heard your stuff.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, I did the 9 Inch Nails cover that you were really into. But everybody has a different process. So when you write a song, what do you do?
Right. Well, I approach it. I'm pretty wide open to it, and I love co-writing, and I love writing alone and all that. 1, 2, 3 Go is a song that I wrote alone, and it started just as an improvisation. I'll just turn on it's just the iPhone recorder, or sometimes if I'm in a studio, I'll set it up right and do it. And then I end up I don't try to stay to any specific lyrics. I'll just sing gibberish and some words, whatever sounds natural. But I end up getting the entire form and melody and vibe and shape of the song. And then if I listen closely and try to decode, it's almost like somebody who's talking in their sleep. Like when in the dream, if you've ever talked in your sleep, if sometimes you'll be having a conversation in your dream, and you're having a full fluid conversation, very articulate and so on and so forth. But if you actually see the person in waking world, they sound like a moron. They're just mumbling gibberish. You know what I mean? And so it's kind of like that. There's something in there. I know what I'm saying, and I decoded that gibberish language, and that's the song that came out of it.
What's that song about?
That song is, it's about a number of things. I learned so much about myself. 123. No, it's about kind of like, I just come off the road, and the difference between that sharp juxtaposition between the being out and just out running the streets, and every day is new and every moment's new, and then all of a sudden, boom, 1, 2, 3, here we are back. And then you get all the stuff that's like, oh, this is very different, but then there's all these wonderful things, and here we are again, and we get to kind of start things over in a familiar place, and that's all great. And then it also kind of occurred to me, like, everything happens all of a sudden that way, and it's led me to a really beneficial core belief shift, which is that imagining the future, becoming attached to our image of the future in detail, I think is a mistake.
Sure.
I think that
unreasonable expectations.
Well, it becomes an expectation, and then it creates the opportunity for disappointment. When reality doesn't match up to your imagination, we feel disappointed, right? And that's what. But if you accept that everything is just 1, 2, 3, go. Here we are, ready or not, like go.
Oh, it's funny because it's a song about like that frantic grappling with reality, but it's so comforting.
Of course, because that's the thing with all of it. You can take the darkest, most horrendous thing. Listen, you and I both get it. You know what I mean? Like, we live in a world that's really fucked up. Yeah. And it's dark and it's horrible, and there are things that happen that are just absolutely unspeakable. And even when we find one thing or another thing to focus on to try to help and try to make a difference, we're neglecting and ignoring myriad other things that are so horrifying that we can't even imagine them. You know what I mean? But still, we have to live in this world, and it's just so much better if we try to find a loving path. Yeah. And I think we can be the most beneficial and helpful to the people who are suffering and for the hardships in the world if we do those kinds of things. I do a lot of stuff to benefit like early child development and child abuse prevention and things like that.
Well, tell me about that.
Well, there's a great organization called thenaturalchild.org. Okay. Really cool, Jan Hunt and a few other people, and they've written numerous books about child psychology and child development, and it's just really cool, open-minded thinking and nonviolent communication, and just in the spirit of nurturing a more peaceful, happier, more loving society.
That's awesome.
World of people. Because the truth is, of course, we model the idea that we're willing to use violence as a means to resolve conflict. It like like, you know, country to country, I think is really silly. We wouldn't do that even at like 10 years old, you know. It's very childish behavior, you know. And so I think a lot of that kind of stuff comes from the way that people learn how to interact growing up.
I think it's a frantic defense mechanism when you want to be offensive immediately, kind of thing. And I work in youth rehab.
Oh, great.
I have to be there in like an hour and a half,
right.
actually.
Nice.
And it's very much reiteration of those mantras where it's like, dude, you're not getting anything done,
right.
you know, trying to rip each other's throats out.
Yep.
Or mine for that matter. You know
right.
what I mean? Because,
exactly.
you know, but they're good kids. They are when it comes down to it. And, you know, they've all experienced abuse in one way or another, some much worse than others. But why do you go straight to the child abuse prevention thing? Is sentimentally, what is that?
Well, I mean, I definitely, I have personal stuff just knowing a lot about it. As a youth, my mother worked very closely in child abuse prevention when I was younger, and I've known a lot about just a lot of people's stories and a lot of stuff, and I've had, you know, experiences myself, and but I think it's just starting at the source. I feel like if we are able to create more peaceful, loving environments in the home, starting from the beginning, and rewrite that cycle, and not use our fight or flight fear response.
That's what it is. It's fight or flight and fear.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so that we have, because of course that's an appropriate response when something's about to eat you alive. But when you're trying to resolve an interpersonal conflict, or within a romantic relationship, or a governmental entity and another one, certainly you shouldn't be using your fight or flight response, right? So we got to figure out how to not engage that right away. We have to learn self-control. We have to learn how to sit with that stuff and get to another place rather than just behaving impulsively. I mean, you know, from working with kids, most of these kids, they're going through that stage in their life where you just are crazy and you're figuring it out. And how could you even know? How could you even have amassed the amount of experience and knowledge to be able to handle this shit yet?
Yeah.
You know? And so, of course, so many young people make these awful mistakes, and then they live with the consequences for the rest of their lives.
It's shocking.
It's shocking. And I can imagine, I feel like I might have been close to making a stupid mistake like that once or twice in my own life at that age. And now when I think back and think, oh my God, I'm so happy that I made it to this point, because I now have those skills and those abilities. And I love being able to tell other people who are younger and say, everything you're feeling is right. It's not that what you're feeling is wrong. It's just that it gets better.
Yeah.
There is another side of this. There's a light at the end of that tunnel, and every part of this process is essential. Otherwise, it wouldn't be happening to you. You only have one story.
Well, that's what I've learned so much in the past few years, is that no matter what, it's all going to be okay.
Yes.
And that is something that, you know, nobody wants to believe.
It's hard to believe it.
It is hard to believe because everybody is prone to disappointment, but at the same time, you know, the disappointment of not having their expectations met. But the thing is no matter what the fuck happens, I mean, this is how I survive on a daily basis, and how I tell these kids to survive when I work with them is like, no matter what, not on your terms, not always on your terms, but it's all going to be okay.
Exactly.
You know, just do the right thing. It's all going to be okay. And lo and behold, it has. Like, I'm so grateful for what I have today. I'm so grateful for what, you know, I see people I work with achieve, if they want to believe it at this point in time. And I think that, you know, we're in a very troubling time in the world.
Sure.
We are. And I don't know, man. Like, I know we're not exactly where we should be, especially after the past year. But I mean, I look outside and I'm like, I wouldn't take this shit for granted for a single day.
Nope.
And it's fucking beautiful.
Yeah. And that's a feeling that I think people are having en masse.
Yeah.
Like, it's a really like that renewed presence and gratitude and appreciation for these little things, a connection to self and more like self-sustainability. People were like, all right, how do I work from home? How do I live on an adjusted budget? How do I do, you know what I mean? All those kinds of things. How do I find the best lifestyle for myself under in a world that is actually constantly changing and totally unpredictable to us as individuals? So rather than having an unrealistic expectation that the world world's just going to be this comfortable place for us. I mean, the fact that we're able to exist on this planet at all, it's you know what I mean? Like it's pretty crazy.
You think about it in the spectrum of the universe and how small and minuscule we are.
Oh yeah, but the odds are the craziest thing ever.
It really is. And the funny thing is I'm actually an atheist, but I just because we're small and just because we don't have as vast of an impact on the vast reality of things, that doesn't take away meaning in life for me whatsoever.
No, the hugeness of the universe and the fact that like even the boundaries of the universe that we can observe, like we get to the boundary and then we go, okay, and now what? And there's no idea, no way of actually knowing what we can try to find predictions and try to find the math and so on and so forth, but really we get just minimally closer and closer, So yeah, I mean, we live in this major thing that's bigger than us. In that sense, I totally like that's where my beliefs lie. And that there's things I understand to an extent, and most things I don't.
Well, to wake up in the midst of a world that you don't understand the way that you'd like to, but to look forward to something like playing music, to look forward to something like working in this vast realm of art that most other people could only dream of. Like, to me, that's all the fucking meaning I need.
That's
what I mean? That's all the fucking meaning I need. Anything beyond that, I'm asking too much. And I know better than to do that now. And I do love it. I really love having that renewed sense of understanding and perception. And again, I'm not always on top of it by any means. Like
That's how you stay on top of it, though.
Yes.
It's not, you know what I mean? It's about what you do in those situations when you start to feel triggered, because that's how you practice. That's how you get better at it. And then in time, you get quicker to the draw. When you get triggered, you start to go a different direction with it.
You just might make it out alive.
Exactly.
Well, you talk about kids. Do you have kids? Do you want kids?
I don't have kids. I think about whether or not I want kids all the time.
Sure.
And I try to think about it extremely seriously. I have an point of view on it that's pretty unique. Like for me, since life is all about self-responsibility, and then the one choice that you don't personally make is to start the whole thing.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you've got these people who are your parents who did make that choice, and sometimes they decide to be self-responsible about it, and sometimes they don't. And so for me, I want to make sure, to the best of my ability, that I'm in a place where I can do the best possible job I can and take full responsibility for a choice like that. To say to somebody, here it is, everything, and it's all on you now. I'm going to be there to be everything I possibly can. But at the end of the day, it's just going to be them. They have to deal with all their own pain. They're going to have to deal with their own death. They're going to have to deal with suffering and so on, but they'll also get to experience love and joy and happiness. And my question for myself is it responsible for me to make that decision on someone else's behalf without their consent?
Don't ask themselves that question before they have kids, and I'm not one to judge parenthood by any means, because obviously I'm not a dad.
Right.
Ideally, I don't want to be. I don't really want to be, but I also came from a really loving, wonderful family who has unconditionally given and humbly received love in turn. And I know that it can work. I know that it can work wonderfully. And I mean, you tell me that your parents are constantly throwing your music out.
Oh,
you know what I mean? And they just.
My whole family's been like my biggest, champions. It's really wonderful. I'm so fortunate to have that. It's pretty incredible.
So then your aunt is Julia Roberts, is that right?
Yeah, my step aunt.
Okay.
So Eric Roberts, my stepdad. He and my mom have been married for about 30 years now, damn near. And his sister is Julia.
I just remember when Eric Roberts broke his leg in The Dark Knight, and then Aaron Eckhart shot him in the back of the car. Was he in The Pope of Greenwich Village too?
He was.
Yeah. With Mickey Rourke. And what actors do you know out in LA? Like, I mean,
Bro, I know everybody.
Really?
Because my dad, Jimmy Simons, he's a producer. He produced Malcolm in the Middle and a lot of other TV stuff and movies. And my mom was a casting director for a long time and an actress. So I kind of just know everybody. My grandparents parents were big influences in sitcom television from the beginning. Like
Sure.
All in the Family, Sanford and Sons, Get Smart, Bewitched, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
All the way through like Give Me a Break and The Nanny and Three's Company and shit.
Yeah. So you've been surrounded by inspiration your whole life.
Yeah,
then.
I've been surrounded by it, and I've also been able to see that the illusion of an inflated importance that comes from celebrity, that is a complete illusion.
Yeah.
And the people who feel it the least are the celebrities themselves, just trying to figure out why do I have this weird relationship with inflated self-image,
Yeah.
But I'm really fortunate that I grew up in that world because it's all just cool. It's all just kind of normal to me.
Yeah. You kind of get vaccinated into
Exactly.
the mindset kind of thing, because you can either adopt it or you can actually, learn from it, which is great. And I mean, I have no experience in that. I've never been famous, so
Yeah. I don't think I have either. I just got the hyperlink on the thing. That's my claim to fame.
We're having fun down here at the ground level. Having said that, I've also never played with Chris Cornell.
Of course.
So
I tell you, being famous, I mean, it can definitely be more trouble than it's worth.
Yeah.
People, and especially now, especially in this day and age when celebrity is virtually meaningless, when you can become a celebrity for nothing at all. It used to be that you had to like do something cool.
All you have to do is get
an ability,
a YouTube account, Instagram account at this point.
Yeah. If you got the right booty, you might work out for you.
I'd like to think that I
got the right abs.
Yeah.
It might happen for you.
One thing at a time.
Or also, if you're funny as hell, self-motivated, organized, talented, then you have a platform with no one else. You don't need anybody else. You just can pop it out there.
Oh, you mean you actually have to have attributes to offer something?
But
Imagine
that's what I'm saying. Because that's their path.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be some guy with abs on Instagram who's going to get famous that way, and I don't need to even start walking on that path. Those days, that ship has sailed.
Yeah. Well, it looks like you're doing just fine yourself, man. You're playing with Brett Young. Of
course, I'm really grateful for my life. It's pretty amazing.
Funny thing, I actually know a guy who stole a bottle of whiskey from Brett Young, like a really expensive bottle of whiskey that was supposed to be a gift to him. I can't divulge his identity because
that's okay.
Brett's probably got a hit out for him, because I understand it was like really, really good whiskey.
Really?
So
wow, that's amazing.
Yeah,
I'm sure Brett's okay.
Okay.
He gets lots of freebies.
Oh, well, send him my condolences, please.
I will, of course. I'll say, that theft.
Well, who are you listening to? Speaking of all these artists, like,
my gosh, who do I? I listen so much to like the friend group. Tony Luca.
Oh, you know what, dude? You know Tony Luca?
Yeah, of course. One of my best friends.
Actually, I am from Michigan. I'm from Clarkston, Michigan.
Dude.
Yeah. So I've only met Tony a small handful of times, once or twice. I had a conversation with him back home, but I actually know his family very well. I grew up with his family in my neighborhood, the Mulvihill family. They're going to get a kick out of this when I say their name. But Tony, that's so funny to hear you say that name, because I do know who Tony is. He's essentially from my neighborhood back home, and he's doing some pretty damn good things, isn't he?
Oh, dude, first of all, Tony is just so talented and so like motivated and proactive. You know what I mean? He's always finding his way, and he figured out a long time ago too. The same thing. It's a series of ups and downs. You go up real high sometimes, but that doesn't mean you're going to stay there. Yeah. If you don't stay there, that means that your path is different. Your story is different. And he's found, I mean, man, Tony's the one who wrote "It Takes the Time It Takes to Get It Right."
Sure.
That's it. That's a mantra for me, you know? That is a mantra daily. So I love listening to my dude, Tony Luca. Ernie Halter's part of that whole fam, of course. Always creating music. And then I like to listen to old stuff. I've been listening to tons of D'Angelo lately. Been listening to that record again, the one with Pino and Questlove and stuff. I mean, my God, that shit is so good. Yeah. Listen to a lot of Donny Hathaway, old stuff, a lot of funky, weird stuff. I have a degree in ethnomusicology, so I've studied world music, and I got to a point where I started having to listen to artists that were like completely anomalous, just like one of a kind. Wesley Willis, the Shags, like stuff like that. Like,
well, it's funny. It's those fringe artists. Totally. Here's the thing about what we call rock and roll now. Here's the thing about what we call music. It all started with the fringe artists, because honestly, dude, you had the British invasion. Everybody came here, the Who, the Beatles, all those motherfuckers, and it was incredible, obviously. But dude, where did rock and roll start? It started with the black man's blues. It started with the blues.
Absolutely. Which started with like, you know, in the fields and doing spirituals. And then before that in Africa and the music there, the single chord guitar.
Yep.
Oh, hold on, let me turn on this volume. Like, it'll just be like that.
It's the foundation of everything.
That's it, man. Just that pentatonic, that thing. They'll have like the cheapest guitar. The sound is defined by these guitars that they got at JCPenney or whatever, for, you know, and barely the action is 6 inches off the fretboard, and it's just good. But still, the virtuosos at these instruments. And it started before that with the kora, which is one of the coolest stringed instruments ever.
Sure.
And then the banjo was kind of has origins in Africa, because that was one of the first like things that they used as an amplifier. It was a skin.
No shit.
So after the gourd, the kora was the gourd, and then they there was something more flat. They used a drum head to amplify the sound, and the banjo came out of that.
Jesus God. All down primordial roots, man.
And all a smooth gradient if you look at it from a certain perspective. Same thing with language. You'll find every in-between word in various regions between the countries, in between the cultures, because it's actually a smooth gradient. It just looks like to us. You know, it's just like the Earth. If you zoom far enough back in the Earth, there's less variation on the surface, like topography of the Earth, than there is on your average marble.
Yeah.
Did you know that? If you zoom in like relative the same amount, there's more, including the Mount Everest and all that stuff. There's more it's more smooth.
Talk about humbling.
Right?
You know what I mean?
Talk about the power
there's
of
more
perspective.
to a fucking marble than there is to the Earth. You know?
Well, I don't know if there's as much life going on, but there's at least more variance.
We don't know. I've never been inside of a marble, so I can't say that.
That's true. Me neither, man. My God, you know what? Let's go.
Imagine that. The next great frontier. All right. So before we wrap up, and get too much talking about the existential nature of marbles, because we know that that's a whole nother frontier. I want to hear one more song. Remember that in Walk the Line when he's like, just play the song that the last song that you would want anyone to hear,
right?
Kind of thing. Boy. I know that's such a cliche, pressured question, but just play me one more of these songs.
That's such a good one. Yes. That's such a good way to say it. All right, let me see. I might be able to choose that. I'm going to go with this one because it's the first one that's coming to my mind, and I love this song. And this is about forward motion. It's about progress. And I have another song called Beautiful Pain that says, don't be afraid of looking back because everybody has a past. And even if you're looking back, you're still walking forward. Even if you think you're walking backwards, you're still walking forward. So you always move forward. And this one's called When I Go. On the day that I almost lost my mind, I was feeding this dirty habit of mine. I've been drunk on your lies. I was buried alive. I've been so blind. I was tempted by fate, and I've been till I break, but I'll be fine. 'Cause you know that when I go, time to go, I'm never coming back. When I go, time to go, I'm never coming back. When I go, time to go, I'm never coming back. When I go, time to go, never coming back, no. Ooh, never coming back. Ooh, on the day that I almost lost my soul, I was standing at the crossroads, but I didn't fold. We've been up, we've been down, but you pushed me around for the last time. It's a fight to the death, it'll take your last breath, but I'll be fine. 'Cause you know that when I go, time to go, I'm never coming back. When I go, time to go, I'm never coming back. When I go, time to go, I'm never coming back. When I go, time to go, I'm never coming back. Ooh, 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 never coming back. Ooh, 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 never coming back. Ooh, 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 never. Ooh, 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 yeah. But when I go, time to go, I'm never coming back. When I go, time to go, I'm never coming back. When I go, time to go, I'm never coming back. When I go, time to go, I'm never coming back. No, ooh, 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 never coming back. Ooh, 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 you're never coming back. Ooh, 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 you're never coming back. Ooh, ooh, ooh.
All right.
All right.
What's that song called?
When I Go.
I dig that.
Thanks.
That's
man.
fucking cool. I keep comparing all these songs to different artists, but
Yeah,
that sounds
that's
like an Adele tune. Actually.
Oh, well, hey,
Yeah.
thanks. God, I love Adele.
Yeah.
Man,
Have you met her?
So awesome. No, I've not met Adele.
I heard she can't wait to meet you.
Oh, that's so wow. Well, that's great.
Yeah.
I'm sure she's been hearing all about me.
Well, if Chris Cornell's heard about you, then, I'm sure Adele has.
Oh, that would be cool. That'd be pretty cool.
One thing at a time.
One thing, one day at a time, one moment at a time.
Well, listen, Keaton Simons, this was so cool having you here.
So cool to be here, dude.
Really looking forward to sitting down with you and talking to you a little more.
Absolutely.
And I don't know. I'm psyched to hear you play again. I'm psyched to hear what else you have to offer, and I'm sure everybody else is. So what's coming up next?
Well, myself and Noah Needleman are co-producing Brett Young's Christmas record,
Oh,
Brett
that's
Young
right.
and Friends. So we are so stoked. It's been Christmas all year long, which is a little bit weird, but it's great for me. I love it. I'm in the spirit. I can stay in the spirit. I bring the sleigh bells with me. It's all good. But this record is cool, man. It's like lo-fi, soul. Definitely got some great country. We've got some beautiful pedal steel and some cool like banjo moments to bring the country stuff in there. There's some New Orleans type of stuff with
Okay, you had me at New
piano
Orleans there.
Oh yeah, man. There's some funky stuff, almost Dr. John happening in there, and like. We're just having so much fun getting creative, and everyone's digging it. Everyone's happy to take chances and see them pay off. So we're just absolutely thrilled. It's going to be
awesome.
It's going to be a good holiday season.
Yeah, for everybody. We actually might just get to see each other this holiday.
That would
so
be
that's
wonderful,
nice.
and appreciate it even more.
Truly, truly. Well, listen, Keaton, thank you so much for being here.
Oh man,
I really appreciate it, and I look forward to putting you up on one of our Red Roots music shows sooner than later.
Yeah, can't wait, man. Cannot wait. And let's do it again, and let's hang and rounds and shows and writing songs and all of it.
Please and thank you. I would very much enjoy that. So thanks again for being here, bro. Guys, this is The Devil You Know with myself, Luke Holden, and my guest, Keaton Simons today. This was wonderful, and I look forward to speaking to you again soon, Keaton. And you guys, stay tuned.